a new general manager. So Rand Carthon from San Francisco is going to be calling the shots. They've got a young they had some coaching changes, and so they have a new offensive coordinator. By the way, their defensive coordinator, Shane Bowen, is 36. Their offensive coordinator, their new offensive coordinator, Tim Kelly, is also 36. So they have some young coordinators right now in Tennessee that we'll talk more about. Let's talk about that offensive line first, because they made Dillard is now at left tackle and Brunskill's at left guard. So they bring these two guys in, and Brunskill has more experience, whereas Dillard was like that top pick that never panned out, didn't play a whole lot. So are they realistically looking at those two guys as opening day starters? Like Brunskill I can see, but what are they thinking about this Andre Dillard move?
I mean, there's no one on that roster right now that can fill that spot. And, it's hard to imagine them not going offensive line with their first pick, unless, I think they have an equally strong need. We'll get there eventually at wide receiver. But, this offensive line situation as a whole, not even just the left tackle, is probably the scariest one in football right now. If I'm Ryan Tannehill, I'm shaking. If this is going to be the guys they march out there. And, again, you look at some of the names out there, we still have some chips that need to fall. Donovan Smith is out there. Isaiah Wynn is out there. Not that George Font is out there, not guys that you want starting on your offensive line, but there's going to be an addition made to this group.
Any of those guys would be improvements on Tennessee's offensive line.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's no matter what, this offensive line group, they need multiple players. There is not one answer solidified on that line. Even their young guys on the right side, they have not proven yet that they can be longtime starters in the NFL. So, they almost have put themselves into a position where even if they have someone graded higher, Smith Njigba, this is where I thought he could go. Tennessee would be a great spot for him. You almost can't, because you can't ignore this offensive line. The way it's looking right now, in an offense that wants to control the point of attack so you can get the most out of Derrick Henry with a 35-year-old quarterback that is slowing down. What do you do? This almost looks like they're just kind of throwing stuff against the wall and hoping it sticks, especially with these new offensive and defensive play callers.
Yeah, but this is another team that has to be looking at quarterback at some point, right?
Yeah. I have them as
now. Look, they could go next offseason. That's entirely possible. Yeah. They could go with that direction, but I don't know.
Hey, I think Richardson, this is a spot where this is a team I think could say, hey, let's trade up for Richardson. We're going to stink this year, but we'll have him ready to pick up the slack next year, and Tannehill will be gone. You can't pay Tannehill next year. And, the question is, how aggressive of a trade are you going to have to make if you want to get up and take Richardson? I do think that this is a good spot for him. Imagine Richardson and Henry in the backfield. Oh, my God. But,
yeah, but the problem is by the time Richardson's ready to play, that's another couple of years for Derrick Henry. And, I'm not sure the best of Derrick Henry will be there for the best of Anthony Richardson.
I'll tell you what, Tennessee is one of my teams for the God. I study them a lot. I've been studying them every year for almost a decade now. I don't know what direction this team is going in right now. I can't. They have some quality players on defense. I love the coach. I love their ability to keep games close week in, week out, even though, in my opinion, they've been outmanned for several years. But looking at, there is not one solution on this offense beyond Derrick Henry. And,
well, you have to hope that, again, that Burks becomes the man. That's what you hope. Is
33 catches as a rookie, right? Did he show us that much that we can say? And again, that is the hope. I'm sure it is.
That's the hope, yeah. And then Phillips was a nice fifth rounder, so a full season of Phillips isn't bad.
Maybe.
The tight end showed some promise.
Yep.
But see, the offensive line is so bad that it brings everything else down.
Right. Whereas, and I've been wrong.
Yeah, maybe by opening day it'll look completely different, because it will. Yep. But will it be completely different better? Because, we talked about Ben Jones. He's gone. Daly, gone. Davis, gone. Lawan, of course, gone. Yep. So all these guys gone. And, the only two that really remained were Brewer's coming back. And I know Brewer ended up playing all year at guard.
Yeah.
But not that he's an answer at center either. He's not. He's better off as a backup.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Dylan Radins is a guy I like coming out of North Dakota State, but he's been really up and down. And Petit Frere was, he flashed early in the year, but he fell apart down the stretch. I mean, man, you're looking, you're looking at an offensive line that all 5 of these guys might not be starting next year. I don't know how many teams you could say that about in the league right now.
And they have a new offensive line coach.
Yep, and no long-term solution at quarterback. You got one receiver that you think you might like, maybe a slot, right? It's a tough situation. I've been wrong about Tennessee a few times in recent memory, so this might just be another one of them. I'm just not really getting the pulse there, but I just don't see the upside.
Well, they better have made the smart move. Vrabel better have made the smart move by hiring Tim Kelly.
Yeah,
because I don't see the track record.
Right.
So, I mean, you bring in a guy that really doesn't. I mean, okay, he was coordinator for the Houston Texans for several years. All right, well, I'm not sure what did that do. Does that was there something going on there that he was really good, but he just didn't have the talent? Now he was there when Watson was there, so maybe if he's got the right talent around him, he's going to have to be good because his offense is pretty bad. All right, defensively, because you got to think, and I think the defense is good enough that they could pretty much do 90% of their draft on offense. And ignore the defense, and I think they'll still be okay. I still think, sure, they can use some upgrades here or there, like anybody, but Murphy Bunting's in at nickel. McCreary, that was their pick last year, so they should be okay on that side. They've got to find another corner, though, because Fulton is just not that good. You can't rely on Farley, so they need another corner. And they should also get another safety because you also can't, as good as Hooker is, he's also somebody that just can't stay healthy. So the secondary might be their biggest need on defense.
Yeah, I mean, and they're headlined by, probably one of the best safeties in the games. I mean, he can cover up a lot of issues, but, in yard. But I agree that Hooker, a good player, but needs to stay on the field. And if he goes down again, what are you doing there? What's the plan? Don't really have one on paper right now. They swung for the fence on Caleb Farley, and right now it looks like a big whiff.
By the way, do you like this Tart nose tackle? He had a good year last year. Do you like him?
I love the trio they have up front. I mean, Simmons, Tart, and Autry.
Yeah, Autry had a Jerry Hughes kind of breakout last year.
Right. I mean, he's a gamer, right? And again, I would love for him to be a guy that's like in our rotation rather than marching out there as a starter week in, week out. But I think that their front and the coach is the reason why they can keep games close, right? And that is probably their plan for this year is, hey, this defense needs to really step up. But, they lost David Long, their leading tackler. They brought in a linebacker I like, Al Shire from San Francisco. But, Harold Landry coming back from the knee injury. He should be full go by the time training camp runs around.
But you can still use another edge rusher.
They started Arden Key to kind of hold the fort. But, again, he's best used the way Jacksonville used him as a number 3, number 4. So again, questions. Maybe mainly centered around depth on defense. I think the starting lineup is good enough to be a winning defense.
By the way, do you think Monty Rice is ready to take over the role for Long?
I liked Rice a lot out of Georgia, so I'm curious to see how he does this year. I loved him in this like kind of 3-4 type scheme. I wouldn't want him as the lone guy in the middle, but next to Al Shire, I think that's a good fit. I think it's a good mix. I don't think they'll miss Long that much just because he was nicked up a lot too. He wasn't the healthiest linebacker. He missed, I had it written down earlier, but he missed 12 games in the past 2 years. So it's not like he was a huge focal point of that defense.
And you get to play that role behind that really good defensive line.
Right, yeah. Those guys make linebackers look good.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, we're in agreement there that Tennessee definitely could use, I think, more than anything, maybe. I think if they only added one guy, it would probably be, I would say, a corner.
Yeah, yep.
So,
corner is probably something they would really want to replace Fulton. And, looking at my notes from the guy, the defensive line, they did lose some depth. They lost Mary Edwards and they lost DeMarcus Walker. So that's, sometimes you lose guys like that and it doesn't really show up on the radar until the next season where you start to realize like, wow, these starters, Autry, Tart, and Simmons being fresh because you had quality depth behind them, it was kind of like a double whammy that when your backups do come in, you lost a lot. And then also your starters are just playing too many snaps and losing effectiveness.
I know kicking is a tough scouting job, but did you get much of a look on Ryan Stonehouse? Surprised at how good he played, because he was like pretty awesome for them last year. You know, I think he played 4 years at Colorado State.
Yep.
I don't ever remember hearing about him. And that's why the kicking game, it's like goaltenders in hockey. You just don't know which guy is going to come in college. That's why using draft picks is kind of a tricky deal. You better be right, because a lot of these guys that don't get drafted, like a Stonehouse, just come in and all of a sudden it's like, wow, this guy is like one of the best punters in the game last year.
And they can change games, those guys. I've quoted this on this with you before, but Bill Parcells, he's always said that if you want to turn around a bad team, fix your special teams first, right? It's worth 1 or 2 wins a year, right? You'll either win 1 or 2 games because of special teams, or you can lose games 1 or 2 games a year because of special teams. And Stonehouse is a big part of what they can do. I mean, I have written down in the review, he's got the most powerful leg in the league. And, we're not just talking distance, we're talking hang time.
Yeah, he was like top 6 in net, along with the most average.
Yep, and that's a rare combo.
That is
right.
And he was also good inside the 20.
Yeah. So that really can kind of change the tide a little bit. Randy Bullock they cut him because
they needed another young. They need a Stonehouse at kicker. They need a power leg.
Right. And I bet this is the kind of team that will probably put a resource into that. So don't be surprised to see them take a kicker in the draft.
Yeah, they've had some kicking issues now for a while.
Years.
They could use a young, fresh Stonehouse place kicker that could be there for the next 7-8 years.
Yeah.